Ben, is McLaren capable of bringing a championship battle to Red Bull?
I don't know if Lando Norris can bring a championship battle to Max Verstappen, but I will say this. Sergio Perez, 4 races in a row now where his best finish is 8th place. The gap in the constructors, you mentioned, Kobe, Ferrari actually still holds second there. I think McLaren, might be closing in on them a little bit with how strong Lando Norris has been running. If they can get Piastri up there to compete for more podiums, we'll see. But the gap that Ferrari has to Red Bull is 60 points, 270 to 330. The gap that Norris has to Verstappen is 69 points, 150 to 219. So the Constructors' Championship is actually closer right now than the Drivers' Championship, and I think you can unfortunately blame a lot of that on Checo Perez and this recent run of mediocrity that he's been on. But as for the Drivers' Championship right now, just taking a look at the last 6 races here, it's been Verstappen and Norris in the top 2 in 5 of those. Monaco is the lone exception. But of those 5, Verstappen's been on the top step in 4 of them. Of course, Miami the lone exception to that. So, like I teased when we were making the transition into this segment here, the gap is coming down. McLaren is making progress. We'll see what Ferrari can do with Leclerc and Sainz. They both have a win this year. Mercedes now, both of their drivers have podiums. It looks like they're maybe starting to claw back a little bit. So I think the gap is shrinking. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the pace that Max Verstappen has and the pace that Red Bull has is still going to allow him to win the Drivers' Championship. And probably, again, I know Checo's really been struggling recently. I can't imagine that he's going to be averaging only 2 or 3 points a weekend throughout the rest of the season here. So even if Checo just does the bare minimum, I think Red Bull should still be in a comfortable position in the Constructors as well. But that battle might be more interesting to keep your eye on than the drivers here, because if Verstappen and Red Bull obviously are still a combination that's just on another level that on their best day seems to be unbeatable, I don't know if Checo can't find his form. We'll see. The Constructors might get interesting. But as for Lando Norris, I think he's certainly closed the gap. He's doing a great job. I wouldn't rule out another win or 2 this year, but I don't know. But he's got what it takes already with a 69-point gap at this point of the season to close that gap and take the fight to Verstappen for the title.
The gap is pretty big between the 2 drivers. When I'm looking at the next races, Austria, Great Britain, Hungary. Austria, Great Britain, I think Max Verstappen is easily the favorite to win those 2 races. Lando Norris could have a good, strong finish. He got to the podium before in Austria. He could have a strong day at Great Britain, Silverstone. Hungary, though, that could be a track where we've seen Max Verstappen dominate, but we've seen surprise winners at this track as well, too. That could be maybe something suited for the McLarens, and that could be a perfect opportunity for Lando Norris. Ferrari, when it comes to the 3 races, if they could just put together a solid weekend performance, I think they could be contenders too. But at the end, I think Max Verstappen is one of the clear favorites. Because then after those 3 races, you got Belgium. I think that's going to be easily a Max Verstappen dominant race. The Netherlands, his home country. Italy. Sometimes surprises here and there, but still I think Verstappen, that Red Bull could be it. That could be a good opportunity for McLaren. But overall, if Lando Norris wants to bring this championship out much closer, the next 3 races are going to really be key. He cannot finish just behind Max in every single race. He'll lose out. For that constructors battle, though, especially if the Ferraris could just finish having one driver in the podium, both of them scoring points, if Sergio Perez slides and continues to slide in Austria, Great Britain, Hungary, it could be really interesting to see what happens in Belgium. Because at the end of the day, Sergio Perez, since getting that contract, it seems like he's just really letting down the team. And we talked about McLaren being one of those teams that very much it's, what have you done for me lately? You haven't done anything. You're got the hook. Don't forget, Red Bull has that same notorious attitude as well, too. I think we've sort of forgotten about them a little bit. But it's going to be really interesting to see what McLaren can do. The next 3 races, I think, are going to be very key for them.
Yeah, definitely. And answer the question myself, it really does seem like, at the end of the day, Max Verstappen is still going to end up prevailing in the Drivers' Championship, and unless something catastrophic happens in the Constructors' Championship, it looks like their Red Bull is probably going to prevail there as well. But also, I want to give credit to all of McLaren for building a car that's capable of keeping the races interesting now, as it seems the last few races. So now, while Max Verstappen is probably still going to be the odds-on favorite to go out and win every race, if there's like one little slip up or something like that, it seems like Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri, whoever's out front in the McLaren, can end up pouncing and taking advantage of that. And I feel like that's something we've been missing in Formula One over the last year and a half, 2 years. And I think it would be great if we could start seeing a little bit more parity up front. So Max Verstappen is not winning all of these races, but definitely still don't want to take away from the great performances that we've seen from him in the last few years or so.